The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
One Sabbath day, Jesus happens to be taking a walk through the cornfields, and his disciples began to pick ears of corn as they went along. And the Pharisees said to them, "Look, why are they doing something on the Sabbath day that is forbidden?" And he replied, "Did you never read what David did in his time of need, when he and his followers were hungry? How he went into the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the loaves of offering, which only the priests are allowed to eat, and how he also gave some to the men with him? And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is master even of the Sabbath." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to the Lord Jesus Christ.
One thing that makes us so distinct from animals is that we have a willpower to be able to manipulate. We have a willpower that can make us express what is not really inside. I give an example now. If you see a dog that is fierce and is angry, you would know that this dog is angry. It cannot pretend, it cannot come out to you smiling when it is fierce and angry inside. No, it doesn't happen like that. Once a dog is angry, then it's hungry. If you find an animal which it expresses what is there within, so it can never hide and say and try to express something that is not. And that is what makes it so easy to say this dog is fierce, this one is cannot bite, this one is okay. You can categorize dogs, and because the way they feel is what they express. But it's so different for human beings that a human being can actually pretend to be what it is not. It can bring out something, it can be smiling at you, yet is angry. A human being can put up a face which does not directly express what is there within. And that's why we have a house of formation like this. If we had just animals here, it would be very easy to say this one is not bad, this one is bad, this one is good. But it's not, because we never express easily, and it goes for everybody, not for students only. But we can never see what is there within. You can never know what somebody is thinking about you. You can never know if somebody really hates you or he really loves you, because that thing is known only to that person. And that is peculiar only for human beings, not for any other animal. And Jesus tries to bring this out. Like in the Gospel of today, according to Mark, we find the Pharisees who are keeping the Sabbath, they are keeping the law, they are keeping even fast, and they are doing other religious things that makes them physically righteous. If anybody comes out and he sees them, he says, these people are the real holy people. They are the people who have been destined for the kingdom. They are the righteous ones. But in actual fact, they spent all their life looking and judging people. Even though they were fasting, they were always angry. They were always out there to hunt out those who were not doing what they were doing. So their physical appearance was not really an expression of what was there within, because they were all full of hatred, they were all full of anger, they were all full of wrath. They wanted to do anything, to even kill, go as far as even killing and condemning people who didn't do what they wanted. And that makes it so different. That makes our religion so different from every other religion. And it is a religion where we can be able to relate what is there within us to what we express outside. And that is why there is that English term, authentic. When somebody is authentic, it means that whatever thing he's expressing, whatever he or she is expressing, is really coming from the heart. It's really, once you see an expression of somebody, it is really what is there in the heart. And this is what Jesus is battling with in the gospel. And we find this also in the first reading of today. We have been reading the beautiful story from the time of Samuel, and then Samuel becomes a prophet. He is called, no, it's starting even from Hannah. Hannah is barren, and then he gives birth to Samuel later on after prayers. And Samuel becomes God's prophet, and the people want a king, and Samuel gives them a king, Saul. And now yesterday we heard that Saul was rejected as king. And now today we hear David is anointed as king. But what happens? Samuel goes to the house of Jesse, the father of David, and then he sees from afar Eliab, who is maybe Jesse's firstborn. And he says, I am sure this is the man. I am sure this is the person God has chosen, because he's tall, he's handsome, he looks muscular and maybe ready to be a king. And God says, no. For the human beings, you look at the physical appearance. But for me, I look at the heart. And I think this is so important for us today, especially talking about how authentic we must be as Christians, that God does not look at the physical appearance. He does not look at the physical expression. He does not look at what we express outside, but is more concerned about what is there within. And that is what he talks about in Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. The human beings, you look at the physical appearance. This is what he's telling Samuel. But for me, God, I look at the heart. And remember, when Jesse had brought all his 7 sons, he called them, these are my sons. And he left David out because David was considered weak. He's considered only a shepherd boy. He is not really useful because he's the last of them. He is not strong enough. But that is the person God had chosen, because God looks at the heart. And he says, no, even though you do not see him as valuable, he's not worth anything, but this is the person I've chosen. And he says that we are not going to go in for any sacrifice unless you bring David. And that's when David is brought and he's anointed as king. But most importantly, to remember, God does not look at the physical appearance. God does not look at what we tell him physically, but he looks at what comes from our heart. And it's so important that we may be able to relate what we express physically to what comes from our own hearts. Because it is in doing that we are truly authentic, that we are truly the persons that God wants us to become. And we ask God during this Eucharistic celebration, therefore, that whatever we express outside will be what comes from our hearts, and most especially that we may value that which we carry in our hearts, that we may take out from our hearts all that is evil, all that is not of God's kingdom and will, that we may truly be sons and daughters of God through expressing that which comes from our hearts.